Texas trucker Jerry Barker and his new flame Rebecca get hitched.
You ready for an adventure, Becca?
I'm just about ready for anything.
All right.
And hit the open road.
She began riding in the truck with him.
And then before you know it, she was moving in with him.
But when their new business goes south, so does their marriage.
You care more about this store than you do about me.
They would pick up a 30-pack of beer.
Cheers.
And they drank a 30-pack every day.
He hit her, he beat her. It had been going on for years.
She had set the whole situation up to make Jerry look crazy.
You know what? I want you gone.
Love may be blind and marriage bliss, but divorce is murder. The small town of Dialville, Texas, is just a tiny dot on the map to most people. But for 64-year-old Jerry Barker, Dialville is home. Home to him and his wife, Frances May.
I'm back.
And when he came home, she was there for him. Like, she was what he came home to, his cornbread and his buttermilk and things like that.
When I was growing up, I said, I hope I have a marriage like that. I hope I can find a wife like that. I hope my marriage is like that. Mama was his life.
But sadly, that life changes when Frances May suffers a sudden heart attack.
She had a stent put into her for her heart because of her heart attack. And they put it into your inner thigh and put it up to your heart that way. So she wasn't allowed to get up, walk around or anything.
My sister-in-law was there, and supposedly she left. When she came back, Mom was laying on the floor and bled out on the floor.
She got up to go to the restroom and had completely bled out from her incision on her leg.
They couldn't keep her going. You know, she lost too much blood, and she passed away in the hospital.
The Barkers are devastated, especially Jerry.
They were together a lifetime. For marriage, I would call that a lifetime. You know, as long as I can remember, it was Mom and Dad.
Jerry grows distant from his 3 grown boys.
I was trying to keep up with Dad and see if he's okay. But he just pretty much kind of just went quiet, you know, pretty much.
Sorry, y'all. Can't come to the phone. Leave a message after the tone.
His world emotionally was gone. You know, he was alone. Everything, his whole world, his life that he had was gone. And all he had was his dog and his truck.
Here you go, Coda.
Only months after his wife's death, Jerry meets 40-year-old waitress Rebecca Osborne.
Hey there, old timer. Let me guess. Chicken fried steak, side of cornbread.
You got my number, Becca.
They met at a restaurant in Rusk, Texas, and she was a waitress at that restaurant. And he came in and they met there.
Rebecca's fun and flirtatious, just the person Jerry needs to bring him out of his funk.
She was fun, outgoing, just a good person.
She's also a divorcee with a son and daughter she doesn't often see. But Rebecca won't be alone for long.
Becca, I got me an idea.
What's that, hon?
Well, my home sure could use a woman's touch every now and then. If you could find the time, I'd be forever grateful.
He asked her to come and start cleaning his house. That was just a lie because the house was immaculate, very clean, and he just wanted that as an excuse to meet her and talk to her.
Come on, what do you got to lose?
He was thinking, well, I'll let her come in, she can take care of my house, and I won't be lonely, you know, so it'll work for both of us.
Well, there, Jer. You got yourself a deal.
All right. I'll drink to that.
And before you know it, she was moving in with him.
Within weeks, their arrangement blossoms into a full-blown romance.
You just can see people and tell that they love each other. It's kind of the way they look at each other, eye to eye.
The news comes as a surprise to Jerry's family.
I would go over to my grandpa's house and clean for him. And then suddenly at one point he had said, I don't need you to clean anymore.
Hey, sweetie. Gosh, you just won't believe this, but, well, I met somebody, and she can keep the house clean.
You met somebody? Who? When?
A while ago. You'll get to meet her soon. Well, thanks for coming out. And you take care now. Bye.
Word of a new woman spreads fast among the Barkers, who have yet to even meet Rebecca.
I was curious to myself, what does this lady look like? How old is this lady? Where did she come from? I kind of think it was too soon and just a little disrespectful to Mom as far as, could you wait just a little bit longer, Dad, before you do this?
The fact that Rebecca isn't much older than Jerry's own kids adds even more fuel to the gossip fire.
She was in her late 30s, early 40s, and Dad was in his middle 60s, somewhere around there. So it's 20-something years.
Only months after their first meeting, Jerry and Rebecca say their I-dos at the courthouse in Rusk, Texas, without sending out even a single invitation.
Dad's from the era where you didn't live with a woman. You married her. I think it was spur of the moment thing. I just think it was just, let's go get married.
I didn't hear about it until after it was already done.
I just told him, I said, are you happy, Dad? And he said, son, he says, I'm lucky to find two women that loved me in my lifetime. And I suppose, Dad, as long as you're happy. I said, that's all that's important.
But others are not as supportive of the impromptu marriage.
Usually the tradition is to introduce someone. This is going to be my future wife. What do you think? And I never got that opportunity.
I felt completely shut out from my own grandpa because suddenly you're not even invited to the wedding that you hear about afterwards.
I was told, your dad got married by my uncle, I think. I go, to who? Who did he get married to? I wasn't very happy with my father about it. I was totally not happy with it.
Psychotherapist Stacy Kaiser and forensic psychologist Brian Russell say these are common issues among children whose parents remarry.
These kids are put in a really bad situation. They've lost their mother, and now, in some ways, they've lost their father.
The kids see it as almost an affront to their mom. They see it almost as a statement by their dad that he didn't really love their mom very much. It's really that they don't understand it very well a lot of times, I think. They don't understand that really what's going on is their dad's having a hard time living without their mom.
Wouldn't matter if Rebecca was good or bad or older or younger or the same age. They're not going to like her, and they're not going to like how things have played out.
Family issues aside, once this couple gets hitched, they hit the ground trucking.
You ready for an adventure, Becca?
I'm just about ready for anything.
All right.
He liked to travel in his 18-wheeler, and she was young enough to do stuff.
She began riding in the truck with him wherever he would go. She particularly liked it when they went to Arizona and New Mexico because she loved to be able to stop and pick up things along the highway so she could use them around her house.
Dialville's newest married couple is also one of its happiest.
That's where they seem to be the most happy, is taking care of each other.
Except that their love doesn't seem to extend to Jerry's family.
Hey, I thought you guys might want me to come down on Saturday.
Oh, shoot, Wendy, Saturday's no good.
I could bring lunch. It wouldn't be long.
Listen, why don't you try us some other weekend, huh?
Okay. Next weekend.
Every time I had called and said, hey, maybe we should come visit, and my grandpa or she would say, no, we're too busy, or we're going out of town. And I didn't understand why I wouldn't be able to go around my grandpa, because when I was growing up, it's what I did. And now I wasn't even really invited to go for a day.
Jerry's son, Mike, decides he's not waiting for an invitation.
How you doing, son? Been like forever.
I'm good, Pa, I'm good. When I went there, I saw Rebecca for the first time. Oh, these are for you, ma'am.
Mike, these are beautiful. I'm so happy to meet you, Mike.
I've never met her before then, and everything, and she was pretty nice, bragging about, you know, things are good, and Jerry's this and Jerry's that.
Gotta tell you, I sure do love this old man of yours. Come on in. Come on in.
She was nice, but I didn't feel comfortable. I felt like that she was acting it out, and I was looking at her like, why would he marry her? You know, what does he see in this?
She always wore like old WAP sweatpants that had holes in them and just t-shirt.
Jerry's house takes on a similar relaxed look now that Rebecca's moved in.
That was filthy.
She never dusted or cleaned anything. She just left it. So she just lived as if she's renting the place and just left it, and that was it. So there's nothing that showed her personality there besides it being dirty. It was very strange to me that she would look like she was just visiting in a way, where she didn't make it her home.
The whole time I was there, I was constantly thinking, why is this lady here? You know, where did she come from?
You guys doing some gardening today?
No. Why?
It's your clothes. They're a little, you know, I just figured.
These are my clothes. Is there something wrong?
Care to share, son?
No, sir, it's nothing.
Rebecca's entering the picture, I think, created a huge rift in the family.
They just didn't like, I guess, the age gap between them.
And with that rift growing wider and wider, the Barkers head down a road that ends with a crash no one sees coming.
That woman could drink, believe me.
He was robbed and attacked.
Truck driver Jerry Barker marries his much younger flame, Rebecca, only months after his first wife's death. His family does not approve. Even so, Jerry and Rebecca are happy until 6 years later, when Jerry's life changes course drastically.
He was walking back to his truck and he got jumped as he was climbing up the truck.
He was robbed and attacked, and they beat him really bad, and he had a real bad neck injury from the beating.
Jerry is 71 years old, and the assault takes its toll.
The injuries were pretty severe. I mean, it messed up his back, his shoulder. He had several back surgeries, shoulder surgery. He couldn't lift his arm up past that.
His injuries are so bad, he's forced to give up trucking for good.
It takes a lot to handle these big rigs, and it takes physical strength to do a lot of the turning and shifting and, you know, leg muscles and stuff. So it hindered his driving abilities.
It was pretty traumatic. He was pretty messed up over that. Trucking was his life. He loved to drive trucks.
Jerry is devastated, but Rebecca is his rock, and together they take it as a sign that it's time for a change.
He says, if I stop working, I'll die. Is what Dad would always say. He says, I've got to work. He says, I've got to do something.
I said, Dad, what are you going to do when you quit driving a truck? He said, I'm going to open me a little store in Dialville. And I said, well, that'd probably be a pretty good idea. You know, open your store, kind of bring a little income in. You know, it's a good idea.
Jerry's General Store is a great thing for Dialville's 100 or so residents.
He wanted it to be everything for all people in the Dieville community, so if they walked in off the street and they needed anything from a pack of chewing gum to plumbing equipment, they could find it there at the store.
Plus, it was a restaurant, and she would cook breakfast, lunch, sometimes dinner, and really good food.
Rebecca made you feel at home when you come in. Out in the boonies like that, I mean, if you're coming through, that's a pretty good place to stop and eat. It was convenient. You didn't have to drive 10 miles to go get a loaf of bread.
The locals come in, everybody knows everybody's name, you know what's going on with the neighbor down the street, and that kind of stuff.
Jerry and Rebecca are overjoyed.
The store was a nice step for them in their relationship. It got them closer together.
He had the store put together, and I made a surprise visit. We hadn't seen each other for a while. And he just looked at me, and he just, you know, we just both hugged it. Started crying.
I think it's a great idea that Jerry decided to open this general store with Rebecca. It gives them time together. It's something that he can do that's slow-paced and that he's capable of, and it's a way to keep him from being isolated. He can be social with his community.
Starting a business of one's own is a really big undertaking, and one has to be ready for all kinds of new things, ups and downs, accounting, legal issues, things like that that you don't have as a truck driver. You don't want to start a business out of necessity. You want to start it because you really understand what it takes to run it and make it successful. If you're going to do it with your spouse, you got to both be on the same page about that.
After 3 years serving the community, the Barkers are on the same page about hiring a trustworthy employee to help out. Enter 45-year-old Dieville native, Tammy Reel.
They were having problems with people that they were hiring before, stealing from them. So I was like, I'm not that kind of person, you know, I would never do that. Just give me a chance, you know, and so they kept me.
But unfortunately for them, the Barkers' generosity is working against the store's success.
You had your locals that come in all the time, and you took care of them. They work up receipts where they would pay later. If they didn't have the money, Dad would say, don't worry about it. Pay me when you can, kind of things.
You want to add the balance of that package of diapers to Brady's tab, hon?
His tab's pretty high already.
The man lost his job and his kid needs diapers. He'll pay us when he can.
Yes, sir.
Jerry's not the only one running the store like it's a charity.
There was a woman one time that had come into the store. She had 3 kids, I think. And she'd asked Rebecca about getting some food. She didn't have any money. And Rebecca ended up getting enough of food for that woman to last her 4 or 5 days. You know, milk, bread, lunch meat, stuff like that.
You just pay when you can.
She had a big old heart. She really did.
You didn't see anything.
They're both generous to a fault and hide it from each other.
Don't tell Jerry, because he'd get mad at me. So I was kind of like, if y'all only knew y'all both doing the same thing, but didn't want the other one to know.
But there's one thing he can't hide so well. At 76, Jerry's starting to show signs he's ready to retire.
A lot of people coming in at one time into the store. Sometimes, you know, he couldn't handle that. Too much going on at one time. He starts shaking real bad. And then he'd get to where he's gonna feel like he's gonna pass out, and then his heart rate would jump up like real high.
It's not just old age. There's another factor affecting Jerry's health: alcohol.
They had a greenhouse on the property. It was full of beer cans.
Beer cans all in the cupboard, all on the kitchen counter, you know, all over outside on the ground.
The Barker kids have seen it all before.
My father used to drink years ago. He quit, totally quit.
Probably because Mama told him. Probably so. Mama kind of controlled him pretty much. He did what she said. It'd have to be at least 20 years that he didn't drink at all before he met Rebecca, I would say.
She was a drinker when she came to him. And so, oh, you know, Jerry, have a beer. You know, have another one.
While Jerry drank, it was Rebecca who had the biggest drinking problem in the house.
That woman could drink. Believe me.
They would pick up a 30-pack of beer, and they drank a 30-pack every day.
Sure goes down nice after a long day, don't it, Jer Bear?
The more Jerry drinks, the worse his health becomes.
Dad had told me he had diabetes, but he said it's controlled. There's no big deal.
He developed it while he was with her. He did not have diabetes before he was healthy.
He would not take his medication like he was supposed to take it, and that, of course, caused a worsening of his symptoms.
The medication wasn't working because of the drinking.
And those health problems played in his inability to help run the store on a long-term basis.
Jerry has a history of alcohol problems. He's got diabetes. This guy is one big giant red flag. And so one would ask themselves, why wouldn't Rebecca try to encourage him to stay sober and to keep him from drinking?
It really isn't fair to put Rebecca in some kind of mom role and expect her to be saying to him, no, you can't have this if you want it. You know, you have to, at some point, put the onus on Jerry as an independent adult to make those kind of decisions for himself.
Jerry's responsible for not having enough willpower, for not having enough strength to say to her, if you are drinking, I am not drinking with you.
Before long, all that booze starts to affect their marriage, too.
She called me. She sounded intoxicated, pretty heavy. And she had told me, she said, you ain't gonna believe what your daddy did.
He's gambling all my hard-earned money away.
She took $5,000 of my money. My money. And I said, okay, he went to Vegas with my money. I got a hold of him a couple of days later, and I said, so how was Vegas?
Vegas?
He goes, what are you talking about? I said, well, Becca said you went to Vegas. He goes, I didn't go to Vegas.
Well, you know how women are.
I goes, no, Dad, I don't.
Yeah, I had heard he was drinking, but I didn't know it was that bad.
And it's only going to get worse.
I knew I didn't want to make him mad.
She was so worried that she called law enforcement to come help her.
Jerry and Rebecca Barker's general store is a hit with Dialville, Texas's 100 or so residents. But as Jerry and Rebecca's drinking gets out of hand, the distance between Jerry and his family grows.
Hello. Uh-huh. Well, Wendy, your grandpa is feeding the animals right now.
At first, when I would call him on the phone, I would talk to him. But then after a few years, I would get her when I called. She would a lot of times tell me that he was unavailable, or he was mowing grass down the hill and it was too far for him to come to the phone. I would say, okay, I'll call back in about 10 minutes. And 10 minutes later, she said he didn't want to talk to me.
I would call and get nothing, not even an answer machine, just keep ringing.
Who the hell keeps calling like that?
It's just some salesman. Let it ring.
It was kind of like we were not able to get into his life anymore at all.
Check this out.
Bingo.
But Jerry isn't lacking for friends. When he's not feeling well, he turns to the other woman in his life, his employee, Tammy.
I was the only one that was able to get him to calm down when he would have an anxiety attack. I'd rub his back, you know, and tell him everything's gonna be okay and just talk him out of it. And he'd be okay, like within maybe 5 minutes. He was taking a few different types of medications, and some of them was working, some of them wasn't. So that was another thing that we were trying to do, is get a better doctor for him. We switched doctors too.
Jerry's health isn't the only thing that's failing. So is the store.
It was getting worse as the economy was getting bad. The gas went up, people stopped coming into the store, and it started taking a toll on Jerry.
It takes a toll on both of them.
Jerry, I already told you we don't need to be ordering new batteries for the store.
If someone comes into the door asking for batteries, what are we gonna say?
You had 4 people in the store yesterday. One of them only come in asking for directions.
They maybe get 3 or 4 customers a day. So There was tension starting to build because there was no business.
You want me to fail?
Oh, please.
And he would buy stuff all the time and stock the store, you know, and it was overstocked. And she wanted him to stop buying a lot of stuff. He wanted her to work Monday through Saturday from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. She's burned out, got tired, you know, wanted some time off.
You care more about this store than you do about me.
Well, at least I care about something more than getting wasted the way you do.
You are a slave driver. Do you know that? A slave driver.
That's it. Run off. Run back to Mama.
But for Jerry, it's his way or the highway, no matter what the cost.
His mental health had deteriorated. His physical health had deteriorated.
Hello? Jerry?
Rebecca, it's over, hon.
What Rebecca said happened is that he had just started acting crazy and was threatening to kill himself.
Jerry? Please. Okay, breathe. Take a breath. Okay, listen to me. We can open another store. This is not the end of the world. You're acting like there's no way to come back from this. Take a breath. Calm yourself.
No!
And she was so worried about him that she called law enforcement to come help her.
You're gonna blow his brains out? And I go, what? I said, okay, I'm on my way.
All of a sudden, here come the police, and he was disoriented and confused because he had no idea why they were there or why everybody was all upset.
He was threatening to kill himself with a gun.
And I said, well, Dad, they said you were trying to kill yourself. He goes, he says, no, I would not do that. He told me it was his medicine, that the doctors messed his medicine up, is what he told me.
We don't know if Jerry was trying to downplay what happened or if what he was telling them was the actual truth.
Real or not, Jerry's suicide attempt lands him in a drug and alcohol rehab center, where he's placed under observation.
He had to stay there for a week, and they evaluated him, said that he was okay, and they let him go. Rebecca and I went and picked him up, and everything seemed okay after that.
With Jerry's health in decline, his family in exile, and Rebecca busy managing the store, the couple gives Tammy, who has been working at the store for less than a year, power of attorney over both of them.
It was Jerry's idea to make me power of attorney.
It is something that Tammy prepared, most likely with the assistance of the internet, finding some document online.
We started getting pretty close there. You know, as time went on, I was really close to him.
She describes herself as the daughter Jerry never had.
I was taking him to the doctor, doing bank transactions, and you can't just do that. You have to have a legal authority to do that.
She was a trustworthy person, and Tammy did a lot for them.
With that taken care of, Jerry's determined to make the store work at all costs.
His main thing was come back and get the store up and running because he was losing business.
You're wasting a lot of letters doing it that way.
Stop telling me how to run the restaurant. I have been running it for 4 years.
Yeah, running it into the ground.
Jerry's wanting Rebecca to run the restaurant his way, and she wanted to do it her way. So they didn't agree on how to do things. He wanted her to change up the menu. She didn't want to.
She didn't want nobody in the kitchen with her.
That's very hard to be with somebody 24/7, and you know, everybody needs some space and some time apart.
It was a huge stress in their marriage. It caused a lot of problems because they spent so much time there together.
There was things that was going on that I wasn't aware of until an actual time I went in and she had a part of her eyes, she was black.
All signs point to a very bad domestic dispute.
I am dumber than a box of rocks. Can you believe it?
I went up there and I was like, what happened to your eye, Rebecca? And she was like, oh, I fell down the stairs. I was like, okay.
When it comes to Jerry and Rebecca's situation, there are lots of conflicting stories. There's a lot of secrets, there's a lot of chaos, and whenever you see that, there are underlying problems.
Jerry has had to deal with some of the most stressful life events that we know of. He's lost a spouse, he's had a major injury, he has returned to substance abuse, he's got chronic illness. So when you look at all of these things together, that's a lot for anybody to take, and you really need to have good, solid family and spousal support to get through that. It looks like he doesn't have that at this point.
It looks like there's a strong possibility that Jerry's having an emotional breakdown.
Whether it's an emotional breakdown or declining health, Jerry's deteriorating condition is obvious to everyone.
Jerry's youngest son had told friends and family members he would go over there and his father would be shaking, almost like he had Parkinson's disease or something like that.
Are you all right? I'm fine, son. I'm fine.
Rebecca talked to me a whole lot about Jerry's blood pressure, and she was real concerned about it. She wanted to get it under control and get it right.
Jerry's family isn't so sure.
But people had suspicions.
Is Rebecca trying to hasten Jerry's demise?
I was told that she would not give him his medicine when he needs it.
Or possibly giving him more than he needs?
I called Adult Protective Services to tell them that he was possibly being drugged and that he was not mentally aware of what he was doing because he's under the influence of alcohol and whatever.
Can you just check on him, please?
Adult Protective Services looks into the complaint. They pay a visit to everyone in Jerry's entourage, including Jerry himself and Tammy.
She just wanted to know what was going on, you know, if there was any abuse and if he was being over-medicated, and I just told her what we had done and everything.
Jerry is downright furious with his family for their meddling.
Wendy, Granddad, how dare you do that to me? No.
He called me right after that welfare check, and he said, "You know what? You are embarrassing me. You are causing trouble in my relationship. If you bother me, your harassment charges are going to be filed and you're going to jail for that."
You are no longer family to me, you hear? So you can stop coming around the store.
He was livid. I mean, cussing, yelling at her, "Don't you ever come around here. I don't want nothing to do with you ever again." And he was pretty hot. I'd never seen him like that before, so I knew I didn't want to make him mad.
And that's when push comes to shove.
I'd be better off without you.
Rebecca and my father acquired many guns.
There was a gun on an end table by the chair.
Jerry and Rebecca Barker's marriage survives over a decade of misgivings from Jerry's family. But when they call Adult Protective Services, Jerry severs ties with his family forever. Adult Protective Services doesn't draw any immediate conclusions.
The rumors about her over-medicating and under-medicating Jerry, I think were just strictly rumors.
Those aren't the only rumors flying around.
He was supposed to be having an affair with Tammy.
What the underlying basis of that relationship was, I hesitate to speculate.
As far as I know, she didn't confront him, and deep down in her heart, she knew it wasn't happening because she trusted Tammy.
Jerry is certainly not in great condition physically. It's not as if he's a wealthy man, and it just doesn't really seem to me like the kind of situation where I could see a real plausible affair blossoming between Jerry and Tammy.
To me, there is one particular detail that says to me there is no way they are having an affair. And that is that Tammy really refers to him as a father figure. And when someone uses the word father in a sentence about a person, they typically are not having sex with them.
I can't do it no more. I am too tired.
Oh, that's just dang stupid.
Shut it down. Won't make much difference anyway. We ain't even got no customers.
To hell with that!
What's certain is that the store's imminent failure is weighing pretty hard on Jerry and Rebecca.
There was one time they were closed a whole week because of the economy being so bad that, they'd had to shut down.
I think that he was pulling enough common sense out to say, this was a big mistake. Look at my life, failed store, failed health, enough is enough.
He was being very ugly to her and very nasty and saying a lot of derogatory things to her.
You're nothing but bad luck for me and for the store. I'd be better off without you.
Screw you.
You know what? I'm through.
You're what?
I want you gone. Out of my life.
Over my dead body.
On February 26, 2014, a call is made to 911.
There had been a shooting at Rebecca's residence.
The victim is Jerry.
They found Jerry in his recliner with the wound to his chest. Based on the entrance and exit wounds, he was shot by someone who was standing above him and probably about 3 feet away from him. When Rebecca first called 911, she was crying. She was saying, "Oh my God, I can't believe this. I can't look at him."
There was a gun on an end table by the chair.
The gun that was used was determined to be a Ruger brand .357 Magnum.
They routinely kept the gun there just because they live in a rural part of the community. So people typically keep guns in their homes for protection.
News of Jerry's death hits his family like a 20-ton semi.
I can't even remember who called me. I just remember they said, "Your dad's been shot and he's dead." I said, I gotta go.
My dad went. She did it. And I remember seeing him say that, and I'm like, she did what? Rebecca did it. She shot him. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Jerry was being awful to me. It was an accident. I didn't mean to do it. I didn't mean...
Rebecca Barker immediately confesses to pulling the trigger. But the killing, she says, was not on purpose.
Rebecca told them that Jerry had been abusing her for years and that this particular day was one of the worst and that she just snapped.
She was very distraught. She was still in shock about what had happened.
Watch. Watch. Come on.
Trying to watch television.
She claimed to have been watching Gunsmoke with him and that she was demonstrating using the gun, pretending like she was Matt Dillon, and that she just accidentally shot him.
The police take Rebecca into custody.
She couldn't have visitors for the first 24 hours. But I did talk to her on the phone.
I don't know what I done. I don't know what happened.
She was freaking out bad. She wanted to die.
Rebecca claims to have shot Jerry by accident. And based on the reaction that she is having, it certainly could be plausible. She is emotional, she is distraught, and she's filled with guilt. And those are normal reactions for a person who has accidentally shot someone.
The person would be beside themselves trying to get it across that they didn't mean to do it. And we do see some of those kinds of things coming out of Rebecca.
The police search the Barker home and discover the murder weapon wasn't the only firearm in the house. Far from it.
Years before, my father had one gun. While they were together, Rebecca and my father apparently acquired many guns. many rifles, many different types of pistols.
It's only hours into the investigation when police hear rumors about the power of attorney signed over to Tammy.
One of the witnesses that witnessed Jerry's signature did not believe Jerry understood what was going on, that she believed that he was either over-medicated or in some other form or fashion not competent to execute that power of attorney.
He knew what he was doing.
Rebecca argues that he was fully aware of what he was signing and that the power of attorney is still valid.
Because Rebecca immediately wanted to turn over the property to Tammy.
But to others, it's all a bit too convenient.
Tammy's stepfather was a witness on the power of attorney. So it was like, it was all intertwined there together. I'm going, okay, well, none of this makes freaking sense. It's like almost like a conspiracy. They're getting together because they wanted that 21.5 acres and they had a 2-bedroom house on it.
The property, the home, the land was all owned by Jerry prior to the marriage, and she had no claim to it. So the only way she was going to be able to get anything would be for him to die.
But that bit of news is nothing compared to what investigators learn next.
They were mad because how Jerry made up the will.
She was never charged with anything.
Rebecca Barker claims she shot and killed her husband Jerry by accident, while others speculate that it was an outright execution and that Rebecca was not working alone. The rumors turn out to be unsubstantiated.
When he passed away, his power of attorney passed with him. That paper was pretty much just nothing. You know, those words on that paper mean nothing.
Tammy doesn't stand to gain a thing.
Tammy was kind of dragged into the middle of the murder investigation by signing on that dotted line, but ultimately there was never any evidence that she was involved in any way. She was never charged with anything.
They didn't even know me, you know, to even make such accusations that were being made. But because of the will is what I believe, that they were mad because how Jerry made up the will.
In the event of Jerry's death, his sons would only be left with $100 each.
The power of attorney was not my idea. That was Jerry and Rebecca's idea. They trusted me. They believed that I could help if something was to happen, and that's why they made the power of attorney.
Tammy's off the hook, but Rebecca most certainly is not, especially when investigators come across a shocking secret.
Rebecca was still on probation for the attempted murder of her previous husband.
She and her husband were going through a divorce, and her husband was threatening to take her child away from her, to take custody of that child in the divorce.
They were actually due in court the next day for a hearing.
Well, she took a gun and she shot him.
Incredibly, Rebecca's previous husband survives.
It's the grace of God that he lived, because his injuries were extensive and could have very well been fatal.
And he asked the court to go easy on her.
He was still in love with her. He didn't want her to go to jail.
The judge gave her 10 years probation. She had to do 6 months in the county jail. She had to attend anger management classes, drug and alcohol classes, $2,500 fine, and restitution.
And that was it. Slap on the wrist, really.
The very same day that Jerry's shot, she's charged with first-degree murder. And 8 months later, Rebecca goes to trial. The prosecution is not going to settle for a slap on the wrist this time.
This is her second go-around of shooting husbands and ex-husbands.
Screw you!
The prosecution has a pretty good idea of what set her off.
I'm through.
You're what?
I want you gone. Out of my life.
Our theory of the case was that Jerry had asked for a divorce that day, and that was based upon the fact that in the months leading up to the shooting, Jerry had begun to express regrets about marrying Rebecca and making statements that he should have never married that woman and that he really just needed to get a divorce.
They make it crystal clear that Jerry's death was no accident.
The single most damning piece of evidence was the fact that she pulled that trigger 3 times. The effort it takes, the concentration, the intention of pulling a trigger 3 times, you just don't accidentally do that.
Jerry never had a fighting chance.
When he was found with his arms down to his side. He was leaned back and had his head tilted back, his eyes closed. So based upon all of that, plus the way the wound tracks were, we believed he was asleep at the time he was shot.
It's possible that from the very start, Rebecca had thought that she would find a way to eliminate Jerry at some point.
Based on what we know about her history, if things aren't going according to plan, she will try and take matters into her own hands, and that's what she did here in hopes that she could just have everything quicker and easier.
But she didn't certainly do the killing in a smart way. She did it in a way that was never going to work as far as this accident excuse.
Faced with all of this evidence, Rebecca's defense team pleads out.
We pled guilty to the jury and let the jury assess her punishment. She was finally convicted of murder, and she received a life sentence and a $10,000 fine.
I'm not a believer of the death penalty, even though I think an eye for an eye, pretty much. But justice was served.
If I ever had a chance to talk to Rebecca, because I've thought about it, I would ask her, why did you do this? Why? Why did you murder my dad? Why did you kill him? Why did you shoot my father? There was no reason to shoot Dad. He was giving you everything.
You know, this woman's just evil. And my father's gone, she's still here. It's just not fair.
All I could do is tell my kids about him. They'll never feel his hugs or anything.